The term everyday sexism can be applied to anything which is so ingrained in our society that we no longer notice that it's sexist. Now, I know a lot about sexism because I am a diabolical, cisgendered, straight white man. So in the mornings I'm awoken by my butler, and whilst I'm having breakfast I'll flick through my diary to see whom it is I'm going to oppress today. During my drive to work, should anyone get in my way, I simply wave my white male privilege card and the police arrive and disperse any females or BAME people inhibiting me. Now hopefully that will have got rid of any SJWs, but staying with the idea of everyday sexism. A 31-year-old woman from London gave an interview to a national paper because she claims that petrol stations or gas stations in the US are sexist. Now what could be sexist about a petrol station? I mean, the act of filling a car up involves some sort of penetration. So if you consider a car to be female and the petrol pump to be male, well, yes, you do open her flap up, ram the nozzle in and pump away till she can take no more before pulling out and dribbling on her. But that's not what she meant, I just made that up. She complains that the handles on the nozzles used to fill up vehicles are too big because she's a woman and they hurt her hands. She also adds she assumes this was invented by a male engineer, and what I love is the way that she said that spits in the face of every female engineer who could have designed the petrol pump. But she is correct. The petrol pump, or fuel dispenser to give its correct name, was designed in 1885 by the wonderfully named Sylvanus Bowser in Indiana. Odd fact, the fuel dispenser was in service before the car had been invented in America. It was used to dispense kerosene. But I seriously doubt that a 19th century inventor was thinking, I'd better make these handles a bit smaller so that in 135 years I don't cause minor discomfort to a British woman. Now she says she's only 5'3", but Mrs. Disgruntled's only 5'3", and she can use a petrol pump. There are many women that height and shorter, and men as well. So it sounds like the real issue, excuse me, is that this woman either has very small or very weak hands. And that'll be down to genetics, so blame your fucking parents, love. But I think there's more going on to this story than that's being let on, because she constantly mentions that because it hurts her hands so much, she wants to buy an electric car. Now, she lives in London. An electric car will have no road tax and pay no congestion charge. So I'm guessing what she's hoping for is that someone that runs a car dealership will give her a big discount for some publicity and sell her one of their finest milk floats, because as we know, electric cars are much better for the environment. I mean, all that lithium and cobalt that goes into them, that has to be sailed around the world several times, that's wonderful for the planet. And the 12-year-old African kids that are mining it, they're having the time of their lives. But now I'll say something about petrol stations which could be construed as sexist, because I've noticed that some women, not all women, do a few things which are unusual when filling up with fuel. Because if I go to get petrol or diesel, first of all, I always stop at the pay at pumps, because that way I don't have to speak to the cashier and I avoid contact with another human being. But once I'm filling up, I try and be a one-man pit crew, doing everything as quickly and efficiently as I can. For example, when I'm finished, I get into the car, use my left hand to put my seatbelt on and my right hand to close the door and start the engine. Whereas some women will arrive at a petrol station, get out and look at the fuel dispenser, like it's a fucking nuclear reactor, like they have no idea how to use it. And when they finally decided which of the two choices, petrol or diesel, they need, they'll start fishing around in their handbag, endlessly pulling things out, looking at them, putting them back in again. I mean, women generally are shorter than men, and we think that's down to genetics, but I think a lot of women stunt their growth. Because as soon as they hit their teen years, they're walking everywhere with a handbag with 100 weight full of crap that they don't need. Then once they found the payment card, they'll fill up. And this is the most mysterious thing for me. What is it that women do between getting back in their car and actually pulling away? Because there are some women that will sit there for between 5 minutes and 3 fucking months. And all the time I'm thinking, just start your bloody engine! I mean, last week I filled up behind a woman and I know the make of car she had. That's got keyless entry. She doesn't even have to find the ignition. But that is when I was ignorant, whereas now I know the reason that so many women sit at the petrol station. They're weeping because of the intense pain in their hands from using the sexist male fuel pumps. For fuck's sake, I expect next week we'll find out that toasters cause racism.